Hello, everyone. Welcome to our panel called Recharge to Perform, Recovery in Modern Sport. Red, yellow, green has always meant stop, slow down, and go. But now, those three colors mean something else to all of us. Recovery is no longer something we do at the end of the day. It's becoming a competitive advantage, a lifestyle, and in many ways, the next frontier of health. We have 4 companies here that are reshaping how athletes, high performers, and everyday people understand their bodies. Whoop, who are redefining strain, sleep, and readiness through continuous biometric tracking. 8 Sleep, who are shaping our sleep as a high-performance tool through thermoregulation and smart data. HyperIce, who are advancing physical recovery through percussion, vibration, and thermal technology. And Forus, who are providing peak state recovery supplements to enhance our wellness. Today, we're not just talking about tools, we're talking about how humans recharge and what the next decade of recovery science will look like. Allow me to introduce our panelists for the day. Raphael from 8 Sleep, Stefan from Whoop, Dave from Forus, and Remy from HyperIce. I have to say, this is by far the panel that I was the most excited as soon as I knew about Level Up being formed. Everyone cares about recovery, but you can't get any better at recovery than working with each of these 4 brands. With that said, I'd like each of you to introduce yourself, your role, and one recovery habit you personally never skip.
Should I start?
Go ahead, Rafa.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rafa. Very excited to be here. I lead international and brand partnerships for 8 Sleep. In case you haven't heard of 8 Sleep yet, we basically invented a technology that improves your sleep consistently every single night. We do that through dynamically adjusting the temperature of your bed in a way that allows for you to fall asleep faster, wake up less often, and because you wake up less often, you stay for longer periods of time in deep and REM sleep, which is what you want to do for a great restorative sleep. What was the question that you wanted me to take?
What is one recovery aspect you never skip?
Consistency. Every single night I go to bed at the same time, and every single morning I wake up at the same time. So you teach your body, when you're down to go to bed and when you're ready to wake up.
I was going to use the same one.
Taken. Okay, one of the perks of being first.
I'm going to use a different one. Firstly, super happy to be here. Who here wears Whoop? Put your hand up. Okay, love to see it. So my name is Stefan. I'm the director for Whoop in the GCC. Super happy to be here, and thank you all for coming. It's such a pleasure to talk to you all today, and really honored and grateful to be here with such great panelists. So my number 2 way to recover is actually sleep duration for me. And it's funny that we're both talking about sleep versus all the hacks that we can get into. But for me, sleeping at least 8 hours a night is really the way I recover best.
Hey guys, my name is Dave Catudal. I'm the co-founder of Forus, and I'd also like to say a big thank you to everyone here at the event and Level Up for creating such an amazing event for all of us who we can share our recovery tips with you today. So Forus is a recovery and longevity brand, and we believe that the pathway to longevity is through recovery. If you're not recovering, everything in your body is suffering. So we are bringing to market innovative supplements that feature patented ingredients that focus on 4 pillars of core recovery, which in our opinion is gut health, inflammation, nervous system, and sleep. And both of you guys took my answer, because I love it because it also shows the sleep is a non-negotiable, right? It really is, and one of our products directly addresses that. But I would definitely say that being a Canadian, I don't do the ice bath. That's not my mode of recovery. I purposely avoid that. Cold. That's why I'm living in Dubai. So my recovery is sleep. I'm not ashamed to say that I do get 9+ hours a night, but it's just non-negotiable for me, right? I've set that habit, I've made that a habit, and it's just the way I feel best, the way I perform best. So yeah, I would say that sleep is definitely something that we all have to focus on. So as you can tell from already the answers here.
Hey guys, my name is Remy, so I'm the head of education for HyperIce in Middle East. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for the Level Up event for setting up this expo. It looks great. When it comes to recovery, I'm on these guys' team. So for me, recovery, we have the pyramid of recovery. And at the bottom of this pyramid, we have sleep. That's the foundation of recovery. If your sleep is not right, whatever you do during the day, that won't work. All right? So for me, and I will add a layer to that, what I don't skip is my pre-sleep routine. I have a specific pre-sleep routine that I do to maximize quality of sleep. Unfortunately, I'm not as lucky as Dave. I don't get that much sleep. All right, so my days fill up quite quickly. So I have to make sure that my quality is there. So pre-sleep routine, I tend to use a bit of a high-priced device, particularly the Nomatech, if you want to try it out. But that's something I'm very fond of. That's part of my routine, and that's what I do.
Remy, let's stay a little bit with you. So recovery tech is evolving rapidly. Are we moving towards a world where recovery actually becomes a bigger performance driver than training? Why or why not?
I think recovery has always been the biggest driver of performance. It's just that we are putting more and more emphasis now on it with the arrival of more technology that can support that recovery. But if you look at NBA players, I'm a basketball fan and still trying to be a basketball athlete. But when you look at these NBA athletes, none of them skip their pre-game nap, right? So they know that sleep is the key for performance, and then obviously nutrition, hydration, and then we can go into different tactics and strategies or different protocols that we can enhance recovery. At the end, when you look at it, training is the stimulus, but recovery is the adaptation. So this is what allows you to perform at the highest level, let it be physically or mentally, right? So I think, to answer your question, recovery has always been the biggest driver for performance.
I couldn't agree anymore. So, Stefan, we're seeing more metrics than ever. HRV, sleep stages, strain scores. Are we helping people or are we overwhelming them?
I think it is kind of subjective. I think when we look at Whoop, for the first time, it can be very overwhelming. It can be intimidating. I'm sure that I saw a bunch of hands go up earlier about, who wears Whoop. I'm sure the first time that you guys saw your data trickling in, it could have been a bit overwhelming and intimidating. My recommendation is always to focus on the fundamentals. So the fundamentals, as we have now repeated several times, would be around sleep, recovery, and strain. Those are three things that are kind of our pillars alongside stress as well. So within Whoop, you've got these as your pillars, and then you can start diving deeper into specific metrics, right? I think as brands, and I'll speak on behalf of Whoop, but also I think with 8Sleep it'll be the same thing. Education for us is so important. So educating people on the importance of all these metrics, but understanding them as deeply as possible, and personalizing that data as well as we can, right? To make it as relative to you as possible, and then lastly, giving you the actionable steps to improve. I think data is fantastic, but if data doesn't serve as insights in order for you to improve your health and well-being, or your longevity, or your recovery, or strain, or whatever it may be that you're focusing on, then the tech becomes completely pointless.
Raphael, so thermoregulation is your core invention. What misconceptions do athletes or high performers still have about temperature and deep sleep?
There's one misconception that happens in all countries that were present, which is, when they say you should sleep at X temperature, at 18 degrees or whatever that is in Fahrenheit. And that is a misconception because it overlooks two key aspects. The first one is that it shouldn't be the same temperature for everyone. Particularly if you have a woman and a man sleeping in the same bedroom. You've all probably been through there. There's always kind of the fights over the ACs, just because we have different core body temperatures. So that maximum is already wrong from the start. But more importantly, our core body temperature changes throughout the night. So if you have one temperature throughout the night in your bedroom, that's also wrong. That also doesn't help you achieve the REM sleep you need, the deep sleep you have.
Nice. Dave, this is a question for you. So what role do the right supplements play in our day-to-day recovery?
That's a really great question. The right supplements, right? So, recovery is a broad term when it comes to the human body. There's so many different systems, so many different processes. When you look at the system in your body that is going to make the biggest impact on the entire system, that's your gut health and your inflammation. So when it comes to taking the right supplements, I'm not going to get into the personalized component of that, because every modern day human, we are all experiencing the same thing. We're all experiencing high levels of stress, constant. We're experiencing sleep disturbances because of the overstimulation. And so the right supplement really comes down to something that is now broadly something that will address inflammation and gut health. So, we're in a time right now where, probiotics were always the go-to for gut health. But who here has taken peptides before? Has anyone heard of peptides? Okay, yeah. So I'm just going to touch on this for one moment because this is a really fascinating topic. Peptides are, it's also a broad topic. Now, a lot of people think of peptides, they think of weight loss. There's one peptide that's called BPC 157, body protective compound. It's a natural compound in all of our systems. But as we age, this declines. So, when you were a kid and you got injured, you bounce back like that, right? Weeks later, you're out of the cast, or you're walking again, or you're not suffering any issues. So, in my opinion, the right supplement right now, and what people should really be focusing on, are things that address core systems. And if anyone here hasn't heard of BPC 157 and you have suffered from gut issues or systemic inflammation, I highly recommend you look into it, because it's fascinating to see the amount of people in a broad, from beginners to athletes to the elderly, that are making phenomenal, complete system upgrades just from healing the gut, because that's where the inflammation starts. That's where the systemic stress starts. So as far as the right supplements, I would love, the health educator in me wants to point everyone to that system, the gut and the inflammation, because once you solve that, everything just gets better.
Definitely. Remy, so HyperIce is used by elite athletes, but what recovery behavior do pros do that everyday users absolutely don't, but should?
It's a great question. I think it's twofold. So there is, number one, consistency. So athletes are able to apply those recovery techniques consistently, more than I would say the average person. They are pushed anyway. They don't really have a choice, right? If they want to perform, they have to find that edge. So that's number one. And number two is actually access to a series or a suite of recovery tools. So tools that maybe are out of budget for us, the common mortals, if I can say that. And simply they have a ton of people also guiding them. So also that filled the gaps between, for instance, Whoop was giving you a lot of data, and then you taking the decision, okay, what do I do with this? So they have a lot of coaches being around them to actually take the right decision at the right time for their state at that time of time.
Perfect. Raphael, so if you had to pick just one sleep metric people often misunderstand, what is it and why?
I'm not the biggest fan of sleep duration. I know it was mentioned here a couple of times, but I think it's short-sighted, and sometimes it can be misleading, because sometimes it's a lot better that you get 7 hours of great quality sleep than 9 hours of very bad sleep. If you're spending 9 hours just in light sleep, that doesn't really move the needle. So I think one eventual second step after you're putting the hours in is actually trying to understand what's your sleep quality like, which sleep stages are you achieving the most, how much deep sleep you're getting, how much REM sleep you're getting. I think that's what Whoop and other wearables are doing really well in terms of raising the awareness about these metrics, as well as 8 Sleep, as we're also serving those metrics. So looking at that as a proxy of your recovery more than just the hours. Obviously, it's a curve. You shouldn't start trying to deploy all of the different best practices in recovery. Go one by one. But I would say this is the second step after you look at the different number of hours.
Honestly, I'm happy my wife isn't here, because I always tell her I need to get my 8 hours of sleep, and now you just proved that wrong. So
I think it's important to acknowledge that we're all busy individuals. So as much as we would like to spend 9-10 hours in bed, I think most of us would say, like Remy said, that sometimes our day is too packed. So an alternative, or on the side of looking at how many hours, let's also look at sleep quality, because that matters a lot.
Stefan, so everyone's obsessed about their Whoop age, myself included. Tell us more about that feature and how accurate it is.
it's very accurate to start off with, and I think also just worth mentioning, like Whoop is the most accurate wearable in the world. So this is like third-party tested. When we compare ourselves to like our immediate competitors, the Whoop age has become something that is like super gamified and has probably become like our most popular feature. As soon as you mentioned Whoop age, Dave and I both started laughing because we can totally relate. It's based on 12 different metrics, and those metrics have to do with activity, they have to do with sleep, they have to do with recovery, etc. And I think what's been really interesting to see is like just people sharing their Whoop age on Instagram every week and seeing how, because every week you'll get that update on like how you've been faring basically, and you'll have guys like Cristiano is like 11 years younger than his actual age, which is amazing to see. And what's really cool about it is like we will give you actionable steps and insights on like how to improve that, right? So if you're like when we look at sleep consistency, for instance, like if you're not consistent with your sleep, and it's kind of all over the place, like with me, for example, you'll see how much that adds to your life in general. If you do become more consistent with your sleep, it shows you how much it will subtract. So I think it's a feature that we're going to continue to expand on, and it's going to continue to become even more accurate and more expansive. And this will be with the help of more features that we're adding in, but also be with the help of AI. So it's going to be a fun road ahead.
So you mentioned Cristiano is 11 years younger.
Something like that.
Yeah, I remember seeing that online. I was like, are we expecting 10 more years of him performing at that level? But what's the largest age difference gap you've seen? I don't know if you have that off the top of your mind, but is Cristiano one of those?
No, in my immediate circle, I've seen people who are like 13, 14. But as soon as you go below 18 years old, it'll just say below 18. It won't give you, you're functioning like a 14-year-old, for instance. So the biggest I've personally seen is 14 years, but I'm not really sure if there's longer than that. I'm sure there is.
Great. Dave, so we live in an age of instant gratification, but recovery doesn't happen overnight. How long does it take to start feeling the impact of your supplements?
Well, that's a really interesting question because I'm a new Whoop user, 2 months, and the data at first, I had some concerning data. I consider myself a very healthy person. I've been in the wellness industry since I was 18 years old. I'm 44 now, well, turning 44 this year. So this statistic, HRV, which we're all familiar with, and resting heart rate, these were confronting for me because these showed me areas that I really have to work on. Oh, sorry, I just forgot the question.
How long does it take to start feeling the impact?
Yeah. So thank you for bringing me back. So how long does it take? So I've been a Whoop user for 2 months. I launched my supplement brand about recently, but we've been testing for 2 months. Since I started, my resting heart rate has gone down considerably, and my HRV has also has gone up. So these metrics improved almost immediately. Now, why did that happen so immediately? For me, again, I have consistent routines. I sleep really well. My sleep score is almost always in the green. My issue is ADHD and high energy, right? I have a nervous system that is very stimulated. So because of my heavily stimulated nervous system, I have, my biological age is more or less the same. Like my Whoop tells me I'm 44. I'm like, damn, I am 44. I really wish my Whoop told me I was 32. But the fact is that, again, this was slightly confronting. But when I saw right away that the supplements that we developed exactly for this purpose, to reduce inflammation, to optimize nervous system, when I saw that within 2 months my data started to improve, I was not only thrilled, but I was like, okay, this is exactly what we set out to do. So personally, I've found results very quickly. We're getting people who are sharing, again, their Whoop data. We're getting screenshots every morning on Instagram of people showing that they're recovering in the green, or they used to spend, 60 minutes in REM, and now they're spending like 90 minutes to like almost 2 hours. We're seeing some really tangible results in only a couple weeks.
That's amazing. Yeah. This is an open question. So what's the most overrated recovery trend right now, and which of you on this panel is guilty of encouraging it?
What's the last part of the question?
Who's guilty of encouraging that trend?
I can take the lead on that with Hyperice. No, joking apart. No, I don't think we have quite good ethics, but at the end, I think a big myth here in the world is that you will find one tool that can solve all your problems. And as a Hyperice, we always try to push our devices, and particularly the Normatech is a great tool and brings a lot of support for the system. But at the end, again, it's all about, as I said before, bring the foundation right. So getting your sleep right, not about quantity only, but also about quality. Getting your nutrition, your hydration, moving right, all these kind of things. So when you start bringing these protocols, the additional protocols, then you have a great impact on that. But there's no one tool that can solve all your problems. Recovery is not the one thing. It's a system, like we said. So once you get the system right, that's where you're going to start feeling the difference.
I'll quickly add to that because, in the world of media that we live in today, you have lots of reels or TikTok saying the 3 things you should know about recovery, the 2 tips you should take. And this is just so misleading because you cannot compare what works for a menopausal woman to a 20-year-old that is going through university exams. It's just completely different needs, completely different bodies, different challenges to what they are surfacing when they go to sleep. You may struggle to fall asleep. Another person may struggle to wake up. Another person may struggle to achieve deep sleep. So there's just not one silver bullet for everything. So I've never encouraged that to that sense, but I think it's a misconception.
Yeah, my answer would be simply I think it's kind of to your point, misinformation. Generally, I think it becomes a lot harder to kind of see who we should trust and who we shouldn't. So it becomes kind of especially with all the information that's available to us, how do we go about improving it? And then, what about sauna and red light and ice baths and supplements and X, Y, and Z? Which ones should we use? What's the duration of it? How long? But to his point, I think focusing on the fundamentals, I think is the most important thing that you can do as a starting point, and then adding on the little layers in order to optimize.
Yeah, I'll just touch on that as well. It's absolutely, it's all about the foundation, right? When you think about recovery, you really have to think about it being a healthy person isn't just about having a great diet, right? It's about, your diet, your physical activity, your sleep, your mindfulness, and all of that. So when it comes to recovery, there really isn't just one thing, and it's not just, it's not about what is the best thing or what is the most effective thing. It's really about the system that you put together, in my opinion, the system that you put together, the best one is the one that really works for you, the one you can do consistently, because it's going to be consistency at the end of the day that wins, for sure.
Nice. So I'm going to ask overrated, underrated to each one of you. When we talk recovery, what's overrated, what's underrated? I'd like to hear from each one of you.
I'm going to start with from a nutrition perspective. So overrated, for example, this is protein shakes for recovery after a workout, right? That's so 1990s bodybuilder, right? Nothing wrong with the protein shake. They're great, but it's food, right? So I think that we have to look a little bit deeper for the things that really move the needle. Yeah.
I'm going to do the underrated one. So for me, one of the biggest differences in terms of recovery that I've seen recently is just minimizing the use of technology after 6 p.m. It's something I think that we talk about a lot, but I think it's just one of those things that sometimes I just need to hammer home. As soon as the sun goes down, I try to just get rid of my phone and get rid of screens as much as I can. And when I do, my recovery just skyrockets. So I think that's the underrated one for me. I
want to do underrated as well, and this will sound biased, but it's also my role here, but it's the role of temperature. If you think about it, we spent the last decades with generally 2 people with different preferences sleeping on the same bed, with the same mattress, with the same blanket, with the same AC, expecting that we have the exact same temperature preferences. When you put it this way, it just sounds ridiculous. And I think that's one of the beauties and probably the biggest value prop of the 8 Sleep Pod, that you can set individual temperatures for each side of the bed, because it basically fully solves that problem. So I think that's still very underrated, and you don't realize the importance of that until you try one. So that's the one I'm going for.
Couldn't agree more. Remy?
Yeah, for me, it's not about really overrated. It's just the people are trying to do everything under the sun, and then they end up doing nothing. Basically, they will try, for instance, compression therapy for a week. Then they see, oh yeah, but my sleep needs to be better. They'll buy whatever trick or supplement that they can have to improve their sleep, or they'll start tracking for a week, but then they see it's going all over the place, so they will stop. So again, that's quite overrated when you try to go and reach for everything. And on the contrary, what's underrated is those small action you can take. Let it be only 5 minutes a day to try to be more intentional about your recovery. So again, like I talk about my pre-sleep routine. It's not a long pre-sleep routine. It's actually a 15-minute one, right? But I'm consistently doing it, and that's what's actually moving the needle for me.
Definitely. So if we wanted to level up everyone's recovery game right here in the audience and in general, I think it has to be a combination of using all four of you in different capacities. Yeah. So I would assume Dave with the supplements in the morning, hyperized recovery during the day and after workouts, Whoop to track everything, and sleeping. I mean, you couldn't get any better. So I personally consider myself a walking ambassador for all four of these brands, but in truth, each of us should be, because when we take ownership of our recovery, we're not just improving performance, we're improving our entire quality of life. Thank you to all our panelists and to everyone here. I hope you're now ready to level up.